Boa tarde a todo mundo que está acompanhando mais uma live do DigiLabour com cooperativas. Hoje a gente recebe o Nick Reis, da MCTIC. A gente já falou sobre a MCTIC aqui no DigiLabour e também no Observatório do Cooperativismo de Plataforma. A gente já fez um vídeo sobre eles. São uma plataforma cooperativa de streaming audiovisual. Eles têm também um braço de entretenimento e games, a Means Entertainment. Recomendo que vocês olhem, conheçam o site da Means TV, também baixem o aplicativo. Well, Nick, thank you for having me, for having us in DigiLabour in our conversation. Welcome to Brazil, and to people who don't know Means TV. What's Means TV and what's the powerful things about Means TV? Hello.
We're big fans of all your work as well. Means TV, for those who don't know, is a worker-owned streaming service. We're a US-based cooperative, and the idea is that we want to produce and deliver entertainment that empowers working-class people and do it through a model that's cooperative and democratic. So that's what we do here at Means TV.
Great. And Nick, what are your work routines and what people are involved with Means TV at this moment?
Yeah, totally. So our co-op has 4 full-time employees right now. Naomi and myself are based in Portland, Maine, and I'm currently in our office in Portland. So, you know, a work day for us is typically going into the office in the morning around 9 and, you know, having morning meetings, talking with our team, setting up calls for the rest of the week. You know, a lot of emails, a lot of contracts, responding to people, looking at our support email, doing customer support, you know, so that type of stuff. And then, you know, typically we start winding down around 3 or 4 and wrap up our day by 5. A lot of times we'll have other calls because we work with people all over the world where, you know, East Coast time maybe isn't ideal for, or like 9 to 5 isn't an ideal window. So we also, a lot of times we'll have calls into the evening. So, you know, 7, 8 p.m., stuff like that. But yeah, that's a typical day, I'd say, at Means TV. You'd have to ask everybody individually what their day is like. We all sort of do different things, but speaking for myself, that's how it goes.
Great. And this are your studio with Means Morning behind you and something like that?
Yeah, so right now I'm in our conference room. We have an office over to the side out there. The rest of our team works remotely. So, you know, Max, who's our head of post-production, works out of Brooklyn, New York. And Isaiah, who's also helping with post-production, works out of Vermont. So, you know, everybody, like, it's a pretty remote workplace. We did just have a wonderful, like, summit, cooperative summit, where all of the employees came here to Portland and we met in this room and we talked through financial projections and like mission and, you know, kind of just did a check-in, and that was a great just in-person experience to have because we haven't really been able to do that with COVID and things like that.
Great. And you seem to set a strong cooperative structure in your website. You said about 3 types of membership. And in addition to what is already describing on your website, what's the cooperative structure about democratic ownership and things related to this?
Yeah, I mean, like when we set out to make Means TV, the whole idea was that we wanted to make something democratic. Like we don't want to replicate authoritarianism within, or authoritarianism or hierarchy within our cooperative. So like that's a continued mission and a continued thing we work on is how do we eradicate hierarchy here? How do we like distribute decision making? I think that part of something getting up off the ground, like there is sort of like, especially when you have a small team, decision making is easier, like things work simpler. And I think most co-ops and most like organizations that are democratic, as things grow, you have to develop kind of new practices and and build things. So, yeah, we're very committed to the cooperative principles of democracy, helping other cooperatives, like helping the working class, being connected to our community. And those are all things we're working on, all the time and having meetings about and seeing what we can do to improve.
Great. And in helping working people is the maybe most value of Means TV. And what's your cooperation among other cooperatives or other workers organization?
Yeah, so it's I would say that's probably a two-part answer. Like as far as other cooperatives, we are a member of the U.S. Federation of Worker Cooperatives, and so there's things, for example, like we pool some of our like dental insurance or eye insurance with other co-ops through them in order to get more accessible pricing for some of those things because we have private health insurance here in the U.S. So like there's very practical things like that. I would say because we are sort of a like unusual cooperative in a lot of ways, in that we're like a digital media cooperative, we're a new media cooperative. Like there's not quite as many other examples of us that would be like there's a super easy pathway to work together or cooperate in some way. I think it's something we're always looking out for, though, is like how can we better like help and work with other co-ops in this space. And as far as like working class institutions, like here in the US, I would say the only real working class institutions we have are labor unions. And so like we try to cover all the labor actions that are going on as much as we can through programs like Means Morning News. We also try to just stay connected to people we know, either who are in the co-op or people who are sort of in the periphery of people we've worked with over the years who are either like labor leadership or rank and file union members, and just try to keep a temperature on what's going on and how we can be of service. But I think there's always more work to be done in like how do we like continue to root ourselves more and more, and how do we be like an institution that is truly helpful to the working class.
Great. In Brazil, I teach in communication and media schools for futures journalists and media workers. And what's the main challenges to build a digital media or new media co-op in a context of entrepreneurialism and startups and so on?
I think I think there's a few things. I think just being a cooperative in such a hyper capitalist society, and like having grown up in it, and just as much as we all try to read and reject the sort of like hierarchical structures around us, I think that it is just you have to constantly work to not replicate those same things within your organization. You have to be very thoughtful about that. And thankfully, like our co-op is made up of like tons of like people that are run successful podcasts or are successful writers or whatever, and like we have all these wonderful thinkers to kind of contribute to that process. I would say on a very like straightforward co-op level, like what is the challenge? It's access to financing, for sure. Like we can't get financing really for the type of scaling we would like to do. Like it would be amazing if we could get a $300,000 like low interest loan that like some of those things that other businesses, especially startups, have access to. We just don't as a cooperative. And as a digital media company specifically, most digital media companies sort of bread and butter is advertising. And I used to work in advertising. Naomi used to work in advertising. We hate advertising, and we're not ever going to allow that brain poison like into this platform and into this content. So just sort of rejecting that and writing that off as a revenue stream does kind of like create a challenge, and it's something that kind of like it's like fighting with one arm tied behind your back in some way, but it's something we're going to overcome, and we're exploring new options all the time. But that's a commitment we've made and we'll always keep, that there won't be advertising on Means TV.
Excellent. And about your movies and series catalog, how do you choose or curate the catalog of series, movies, and so on, and the choices about original production?
So I would say early on, like especially like the first 6 months of the co-op or like our launch, a lot of that stuff was curated by myself and Naomi, and sort of like what was out there, what was available, what we could afford with the sort of small budget we had. And so it was kind of a combination of those things, like what we felt projected. This is what Means TV is, and what was available to us. I would say now that those decisions are being made by like basically all of the employee members. We all engage in content discussion and talk about it because it is like the core part of our business. Um, it's a lot dictated by budget and like what we can afford to buy that quarter, what sort of stuff we can afford to buy that quarter. We're always looking for things that are political, but they firstly have to be entertaining and high production value. Sometimes we have to make hard decisions, and like we can't commit to a project, or we can't, be a part of something even though it's cool. But I would say generally, like when there's a cool thing that like falls onto our radar, we are usually able to take advantage and get that like project involved with the cooperative somehow.
Excellent. And we very like your content because it's about memes and laughed and funny and even really engaged with workers about organizing and so on. And do you define today as anti-capitalist platform or post-capitalist platform, or regarding values of your content?
I would say that the differentiation between anti-capitalist and post-capitalist is sort of like it's a little splitting hairs. We kind of use the language interchangeably, I would say, depending on who we're talking to. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me mute that. But yeah, we use it interchangeably because like post-capitalist and anti-capitalist are evocative of the same thing. But for some people, I think being against something isn't enough, and it isn't enough. Like you have to be projecting your vision for what a better world is, and so we don't want to just be defined as being like anti what is currently, like the structures that be. Like we do want to project through, post-capitalist, like a different vision for society that is like less hierarchical.
Great. And what's your and how your relationship with your audience regarding comments or reactions? Because the mainstream media representations of working class is very problematic, like TV series like Friends or wherever. And what's the reactions of your audience about your content?
I would say based on what I've seen from our surveys of the audience, people like comedy is really where we sort of specialize and where we succeed the most, I would say. And it's kind of where we've developed the most unique kind of like perspective or voice in the space, is working with comedians and creators who like their stuff wouldn't necessarily get picked up by another network because it's a little out there or because it's a little too political. And I think that's really, becoming a big part of what Means TV has to offer. So looking at our survey, comedy is a big part of it. I would also say that documentaries are a key part of what people get out of the experience. But yeah, I would say those two things primarily from what I've seen.
Excellent. And what's the possibilities of subtitles in other language, because or partnership with other countries? Because in Brazil we can download your app, but only in English language, and many people in Brazil don't speak English.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, and it's something that like we've been working on and trying to do more on, but I don't think we've done enough. It's a lot of the limitations are just with that it costs it's cost a lot of money to go through our entire content catalog and get new things made, but I don't think that that's an excuse anymore. And we've had conversations about how, we need to be allocating monthly amounts just towards basically going back through all of our content and creating Spanish language subtitles, Portuguese subtitles, because those are, like, as far as other countries that are watching Means TV, Brazil is one of the largest. I think it is like the third largest one. It's like US, Canada, UK, and then Brazil. So, yeah, it's something we want to do. It's just been, that we're spending all the money we have to kind of keep this thing moving in a direction. But it's a priority, and it's something that we can do more on.
Great. I will talk to some Brazilian organizations to do this. I think some organization here can help you. Great. In last year, you launched Means Entertainment and the excellent game Tonight We Riot. What's the plans for Means Entertainment and another games? Because it's about circulate other narratives, meanings, and also co-ops of games and so on. And
Yeah,
we just received another question about this.
got it. Yeah, so with Means Interactive, basically Tonight We Riot was like this perfect situation where their publisher had dropped them because the game was too political after the guys had developed the entire game already. So, like, they needed a publisher. We were able to come in and we were able to work together on, like, how do we explain this game? How do we contextualize it? All that stuff. And so we're always looking at new game pitches and new, like, projects that either are in demo phase or whatever, and, like, are always interested in working with independent developers on publishing, their games. So, like, it's really just been that we're looking for the right kind of, like, combination of this game is actually really fun and really good and really high quality, and it has this great political message. So if you're an independent developer out there and you're looking for a publisher, certainly send your stuff to us. Contact at means.media. We're always looking for, new games.
Great. If people in Brazil, audiovisual workers or game workers here, want to publish their movies or cartoons or so on, they search for Means TV? How does this work?
Yeah, the vast majority of things that we, like, license or that go up on Means TV are through people contacting us. Like, that's just been a great way to reach people. So I would say, yeah, please, if you're a filmmaker and you have a short film, a series, a feature film, or like a project you've shot a bunch of stuff for, and you're kind of you need some help with development, like, whatever it may be, shoot us an email at submissions@means.media. Submissions@means.media. Like, we're always looking for new stuff. We go through that email every week. So please, yeah, don't, reach out. We really appreciate that stuff.
Great. It's submissions.
Submissions, yeah.
Means.
Here, I'll put it in the chat here.
Great. And then I can put in the screen. Great. It's .media. Excellent. Here. And what's your next plans for Means TV in the future, for next year? What's are the about news?
I mean, the plans for Means TV are to keep growing, like, to maybe expand into doing more live events now that COVID is over, and sort of trying to have more of a, like, physical footprint and doing, like, theatrical screenings and things like that. We're always looking at, like, interesting new kind of things in the entertainment space to be a part of. We're also, looking at some really exciting new scripted projects for next year that we're looking at doing pilots of. And so there's a variety of exciting things. I mean, being a digital media company, we have flexibility both being a streaming service, making TV, being a part of making entertainment, and then also looking at like what other things can we do sort of in the entertainment space.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for inspiring us in Brazil to build other possibilities of building media work and about other possibilities of media workers here. For us, it's excellent to continue this talk with you and spread the word to filmmakers and other media workers here in Latin America.
Well, thanks again for having me. And if there's anything anybody watching is interested in learning more about the co-op, or whatever, if you're trying to start your own co-op where you are and you have questions, like, please feel free to reach out. Any of the contact or submissions emails, yeah, please reach out. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate the support, the solidarity, and we really want to, especially next year, start really like improving our subtitling and all that type of stuff. So thanks for your patience, and we're working on it.
Thank you so much. Muito obrigado a todo mundo que acompanhou mais uma conversa aqui no nosso canal. Um abraço e boa semana.